chose instead to grow this movement by giving everyone the opportunity to benefit from their contribution to the movement. Just like being able to mine Bitcoin in 2008 or 2009, getting early access to mining the Gaju Maru now allows you to mine the greatest number of Gajus and benefit most from being part of this movement. We want to share that with you. We want the whole world to be part of this. We want everyone who cares about our future to get on board and take this from a movement to a reality. We want to see an economy for the people, by the people, now. Join us. Put your fingerprints on humanity's story, our history. Be a leader in the economic emancipation of humanity. It's simple. Go to gajumining.com, select the mining package that's right for you, and get started today.
All right, guys, we have David Serpa here, California governor candidate. How you doing, sir?
Brother, it's good to see you. I'm doing
Great to see you, too. Great to see you. For people out there, we did a Blood Money episode with Mr. Serpa. I believe it was like 298 or something. Everybody needs to go watch that. It's a much more in-depth interview than this is going to be.
Yeah.
Allow me to be crude for a second. I have one question.
We've only had so much
What sucks most in California that you would attack first? The most important thing that you are like, this needs to be changed in California?
Geez, I'm going to give you a weird answer. Our apathy.
Your what?
Our apathy. You know, I mean, we as Republicans, we only make up 24% of the state's registered voters, and we don't show up to vote. You know, less than 30% of us show up to vote. This election will be determined by who shows up to vote. Now, the political answer is, you know, human trafficking. First 180 days, we tackle human trafficking. Because the thing is if you are not willing to fight against slavery, then you might want to find a different job. It's like human trafficking, drug trafficking. I want to get water to be an abundant resource here in California. You know, we have 5 trillion gallons spilling out into the Delta, you know, every year. Energy should be abundant. We should have decentralized micronuclear grids, selling our excess water and our excess energy to our water and energy poor neighbors, because government needs to be providing something, and water and energy is really it. A lot of what government is involved in, they need to get out of. And in fact, some of the best thing that we could do with government is decentralize and deregulate, return power to the people, allow people to build their own homes again, allow people to, not have to follow the real estate Gestapo of all the red tape when it comes to development. You know, we've got 48 million acres in the state of California. You know, 300,000 acres of that should be opened up. And then you still have 47,700,000 acres available. And then you could build 5 new cities at 60,000 acres apiece. And you could have 1.5 million homes in each new city. And the way that you do that and you make it affordable is, you know, back in the day, they opened up a bunch of public land, and then you had people buying shipping or housing units from a shipping catalog, from the Sears catalog. Now we have Amazon, Walmart, Tesla, Home Depot, the TikTok shop, all selling housing for anywhere from about $15,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 housing kits that you could then connect to water and power, and they're ready to go. So if you could get a piece of land for $30,000, if you could get a housing kit for about $30,000, then you've got a home for $60,000. Now all of a sudden that 2% tax rate is a little bit more doable because you're paying 2% on $60,000, which is $1,200 annually, versus 2% on $800,000, which is $16,000 annually just in taxes to your state and local government. We're a country that's founded on tax rebellion, and yet we're not willing to look at our mortgage statement and look at 1/3 going to the principal, 1/3 going to interest, 1/3 going to taxes. So you pay an equal amount in taxes that you do towards your principal.
So crazy.
It's a wild way that they're using economics to keep us in chains. There's 2 basic forms of freedom. One is economic freedom. Can I do what I want to do with my time? Can I afford to do what I want to do? The other one is physical freedom. Am I safe to go to the park? Safe to walk to the school? Safe to go to the grocery store at night? You know, can my wife go on a walk at night with the dog without worrying about being, accosted on the green loop because there are homeless people living there? These are the basic things that we have been denied over the course of the last 20 to 30 years here in California.
So I got to ask a question about the apathy. I know we're limited on time, but how do you solve people's apathy? Like, what do you do to change the mindset? That seems like the biggest challenge out of everything you just said.
Well, the thing is that, and I was telling somebody yesterday, because I'm really having trouble keeping this thing going. I'm just being honest with you.
Yeah.
Because people are so apathetic. I break it down. You've seen my presentation.
Yeah.
Winning, this is how you do this. 240-page business plan. This is how we're going to do that. You've seen a lot of this stuff. People see it, they go, oh man, I'm blown away. I didn't know this. I didn't know that. And then they go home and they never think about it again. Steve Bannon in the War Room, when he talks about the War Room posse, if you guys phone it in, we lose. It's the same thing with the Republican Party, but the Republican Party has gotten so used to existing in the wineries, the golf courses, and the country clubs, and not in backyards, Main Street, and in the schools. And so if we're going to break past apathy, it's going to require getting into the backyards, getting into the schools, and getting back on a Main Street, and leaving the golf courses, wineries, and country clubs to the party of the oligarchs, which is the Democrats.
Wow. So, man, let me ask you, like, your fundraising, obviously you're saying that it's been a challenge and stuff. I mean, we have how many candidates right now running?
1 million.
1 million candidates. A lot of candidates, right?
One out of every 40 people in the state of California.
Why wasn't this better? I mean, you would think it would have been better planned, especially now that we saw what happened in New York. I mean, there's grave danger that this state falls to communists. How do you solve that problem?
Well, you solve that problem by having a platform. Republicans, we get elected and we do nothing. Democrats get elected and they just start destroying things.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, Republicans get elected, we start fighting with each other. And so the thing is, Mamdani is a reaction to things that are happening on a statewide level and on a countrywide level that people don't want to realize. There are 4 million people, not 4 million, 40 million people that are on SNAP benefits. 40 million people, $4 billion annually. And people don't realize that over 40% of those are children. About 39% are children. 17 million. And nobody wants to look at a country where 10% of the population is on SNAP benefits and say there's something systemically wrong with this country. Instead, they say, oh, well, let's cut $4 billion from SNAP benefits and then send $40 billion to Argentina. And so the thing is people who are center of the aisle, center of the road, even Republicans, get frustrated when they say we were going to vote for fiscally conservative policies. And then they say, oh, well, we're going to cut SNAP. And you go, okay, well, ouch. Shouldn't we try cutting foreign spending before we start cutting domestic spending? And so MAGA, Make America Great Again, it's essentially a nationalist movement. I am a nationalist. In order for somebody like me to get elected, things are going to have to get bad. Things are going to have to get bad for somebody like me to get elected because people want a diet Republican. They want a diet Democrat. They want a diet politician. They don't want somebody with all the calories and all the flavor and all of the, the controversy to make a real candidacy something that people could sink their teeth into. Because we could win in California if we got on message. But if we keep attacking Americans while funding the rest of the world, while funding Israel, while funding Ukraine, while funding, China and Taiwan, if we continue to spend the way that we're spending internationally while cutting spending domestically, then we're going to see less Republicans getting elected.
Wow.
You can't be fiscally responsible here while spending a bunch of money everywhere else. I'm disappointed that the Department of Defense, and I'll end on this, has failed 7 consecutive audits. And yet we ballooned the monthly or the annual spending for the Department of Defense to $1 trillion annually. $1 trillion when they failed 7 consecutive audits, unable to account for 61% of 3.5 trillion weapons and assets that are missing throughout the globe. And so
how do you lose? I'll see those trillions, man. This is not like quarters. How do you lose trillions? And it's the auditing. Where did it go?
Correct. And then if you have the audit and then you realize that all this money has been missing, then you have to refer it to an attorney general for prosecution. Because if you were missing 61% of $3.2 trillion, you'd go to jail. They would knock down your door. You would not be long for this earth. They would lock you up. But our government gets to have $24 billion missing going to fight homelessness. They get to build, a few miles of high-speed rail line in none of the 30 stations that were going to be built. no repercussions.
No,
A lottery
let's-
money.
let's
That
talk
was
about
supposed
the-
to fix our schools.
Yeah.
And where did all the lottery money go?
Yeah.
People need to go to jail.
Yeah, this is what I was gonna say. Like with the train, the rail system, why hasn't anybody gone to jail? People obviously stole money. What's going on?
Yeah, well, people think that the public doesn't have the palate for it. They think that if they actually start putting people in handcuffs, that the public is going to back up, is going to be like, whoa, that's scary. That's authoritarianism. No, that's accountability. That's accountability. And if you're going to run government like a business, there needs to be accountability. Because right now, there's no accountability at the ballot box because our election system, it's not rigged on the day of the election. It's rigged months and months and months ahead of time. Because there was a famous Democrat that said like 150 years ago, I don't care who gets the vote as long as I get to pick the candidates. And that's where we're at. We have a media that picks our candidates for us. We have an establishment in the Republican Party that likes to pick our candidates for us. But the Republican Party is still a place for primaries. Thank God. The Democratic Party is not a place for primaries anymore. We saw that with Bernie twice. And then we saw that with Kamala Harris getting handed the nomination without an election process.
So crazy, man. So crazy. It's like there's no rules anymore, but that's why we got to fix this.
It's like there's no rules. There's so much dark money that comes into politics, and you could talk about that too. It's one of the reasons why I stay away from money in a lot of ways. I don't want people to fund something that's not going to win, that doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell at winning. Seeding capital is an easy thing to do if you have an action plan, if you've got a team behind you ready to go, and if people believe in the vision. But right now, people don't believe that California can be won, especially the donor class, which is why every one of the other 49 states treats California like it's a piggy bank. They come out here to Silicon Valley. They come out here to, Palm Springs. They come out to Orange County and to Los Angeles County. They fundraise, and then they go to their congressional districts that are more competitive than the districts that we have in California. And all of that money leaves. But the donor class is very hesitant to put a single dollar behind the candidates in California that are Republicans because they've been burned so many times before.
Wow. Brother, best of luck. Thank you for running.
I appreciate you.
Thank you for staying in the race. And I know it's but you got a great message, dude. You got a great message, and I appreciate that you talk about accountability. I appreciate you talk about locking up these criminals. Not a lot of people do. They're scared. They think it's going to sound extreme, but I think that's what the people want.
Well, $24 billion, just in homelessness that goes missing.
Yeah.
People should be locked up. Lots of people should be locked up. And it should be done by the attorney general. And so we need a really great attorney general to run. And I've talked to 5 different attorneys in the state of California trying to get them to run. Nobody wants to touch it with the 10 foot.
Because they're taking a pay cut, and plus they're going to get attacked. They're you know what I mean? Who wants a headache? That's
you make $1.5 million, $2 million a year in your private practice. Who wants to go fight with CEQA and the EPA about development?
Yeah.
Who wants to go fight with the teachers union about school choice? Who wants to go fight about civil rights and civil liberties because we need to bring back institutions in order to save our streets and save these poor people that are sleeping in the streets in their own filth, addicted to drugs? That's not compassion, the way that we treat homeless people in California. That's not compassion. That's not sympathy. We could do so much better in the greatest state and the greatest country on earth.
All right, guys, we are here at this amazing California governor's debate put together by Kim Yeater and her team. Big credit to Kim Yeater and her team, because if you guys see what this thing looks like, it's very professional, very impressive. Sir, you are running for governor.
I am.
Could you tell us what your name is?
My name is Scott Shields.
Scott. All right. So, Scott, I think we only have time for a couple of questions, so I'm going to keep this brief. What sucks most about California right now? What is the most horrible thing that you would want to fix first and foremost if you got into office?
Well, the number one topic that I'm putting as a priority is to demarxify yourself. So that's the priority in my press release. I've been doing it for over a year in a walking trade show, so to speak, to find out if it's viable and capable of being done. Well before Mandami and all this.
Yeah.
We have to fix academia, and we have to realize that the Marxists have control of academia, they have control of advocacy, and they have control of advertising. And so as we attack this campaign, we know their playbook, and we have to be better at it on our end. My background is taking on that type of project.
Tell me, what's your background?
Well, basically writing assessments all my life with C-suite individuals of different sectors.
Okay.
And so I've had a blessed life in terms of meeting just really knowledgeable people. I'm not I'm knowledgeable, but they're real knowledgeable. There's a big difference, right? So as a project manager or somebody that's leading a team of very knowledgeable people, or going into a boardroom and giving advice to a board who is obviously there for the right reason, right? Been blessed to be around some very, very extraordinary people on 65. So I've been in California for 40 plus years, since 1983. So I do know California pretty well. I know the people. I live up in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I've been in the tech sector. I still am in the tech sector. And
Are you like the only non-Marxist up in the I mean, I joke, but it's
I'll
like,
tell you what happened. In 2018, I was looking for a few cryptography experts for my company, and a company that I was forming. And what I found out was a lot of number one, the kids are brilliant. I'm 65. I knew what I knew, but boy, they really are brilliant.
yeah.
And so what I found out was, in a lot of interviews, that a lot of them are held hostage to the Marxists for promotions, or if they said they're going to be for Trump, or they were Trumpers. There's many more Trumpers, or let's not say Trump, so to speak, but make America great again for people that understand America and the ideals of America. They get it. Even the foreigners that come in here, and most of them that I met. And so I didn't get whistleblowers. That wasn't my goal. I was just trying to recruit in person. Wasn't going to recruit resumes. I wanted to get to know people because it was a small company, and we weren't going to work on NDAs. We have the same why. Basically going back to the 80s. We get the same why. We go in the garage with a solution, a discovery, and try to build it out. So that takes loyalty.
Yeah.
Jobs had Wozniak, Gates had Allen. Everybody's got a number two. I had to go find a number two.
Wow.
And basically I became the number two because he was so much brighter than me. And he was younger, and I could kind of protect him in the environment. And guide him. So I do have experience. And so to answer your question, yes, there's a tremendous amount of people who are indoctrinated by what I call the mind virus of atheist Marxism. And so I called some experts in philosophy and history that I had access to, and I said, I need to start a thesis on this, and we need to start writing white papers on this. And so this was a year ago.
Wow. So you guys are actually doing you're analyzing it. You're not just saying, okay, this sucks. You're more like, this is the reasons, this is the actual evidence.
If you're going to educate somebody or deprogram somebody to critically think on their own, who's indoctrinated, you and I can't tell them. We have to give them facts of what happened, and then inspire them on what we know is the right way. Okay. And so as my walking trade show last year at a convention, and an independent convention, I'm a nonpartisan candidate or party candidate right now, but my slogan is vote the candidate, not the party. If I end up a Republican, great. If I end up a Democrat, great. If I end up independent, but vote the candidate, whatever your party preference is. And I'm here, and this has been, like you said, Kim. Oh my gosh, this event is fabulous. This is unbelievable. Anybody that's been in entertainment before realizes the effort, the time, the talent here. So. But to answer that question, the mind virus, what we came up with, to get it simple, is the mind virus of atheist Marxism leads to the societal cancer of communism. So everybody has been saying for over a year in this media, Republicans, everybody, communism doesn't work. It's known. Well, people young don't know.
They don't.
They weren't there.
It's crazy, by the way. When I was in high school, they taught this. I graduated in 93.
Right.
I don't know what happened after that, man. Communism was the big bad boy, and now...
Well, I just told you. They got the atheist Marxists got control of academia.
And it's all occurred in the late 90s, early 2000s, or...
Really, it's decades old. Okay? It's decades old. Most people look at Marxism and say it's a union, it's class, we to get fairness for a lower class, a working class, right? No. Most Marxists are industrialists at the top who hire people like this guy, Mahdavi, who's a Muslim, who you can't be an atheist Marxist and a Muslim unless you're indoctrinated, because atheist Marxism is a religion. It's a belief of non-belief. right? Think about this for a moment. This is when I went out there and I really resonated.
Yeah.
If you're a Christian, do you go to the Jewish temple on Sunday too?
Yeah.
If you're a Hindu, do you go to the church too? Well, atheist Marxism is the belief of non-belief, and its indoctrination is to eliminate religion. Religiosinate the spirit that you and I are born with, regardless of what religion you may go to, the teachings, right? That allowed you to find a spirit,
Yeah.
right? They can become what we all know they can be now, a theocratic machine, like Islam is in the Middle East. It's a theocratic theocracy, right, of religion. And basically communism ends up a theocratic, atheist, Marxist religion.
Wow.
It eliminates Tibet, right? Falun Dafa, Christians, Buddhists, Taoists. The only ones that are okay there are the ones that pay the piper.
Yeah.
If you're not paying what we call the mafia of eight-class Marxists, then, you're going to end up.
This is the way it works, by the way. Look, I was born and raised here, but my family is Armenian, and they came from the former Soviet republics. And like I tell people, we've experienced communism. We know what it is. All you're going to do is you're going to be bribing the guys that are in charge. That's all it is. That's it. Like, instead of bribing maybe like now we go to the DMV, now we pay lobbying money. No, it's going to be one central figure that you're going to be bribing to get stuff done, which is the most corrupt society here.
And this is why I've been making friends and enemies at the same time.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because, just like I say with Muslims and Christians and the Jewish community, if you are of spiritual being and belief, and you're doing financial business with atheists, Marxists, and communists, that's fine. We're in a global world, trade, and I'm a Trump advocate for tariffs. I believe in that fairness, right? But you can't be an advocate of it. Nobody's an advocate of Christianity and Hinduism. Nobody's. So you can't be. And so we're breaking that mindset, the virus. And when I say virus, people will say, wait a minute, it's not a virus. No, thoughts are biological. It's a fact. I call my science people. These are facts. This isn't something Scott Shields just threw in the air.
Yeah.
My job, I believe, is like a football coach. It comes in, and I've got to get the best staff because they've got the best knowledge for the offensive line and the defensive line. Now, I've got to know it all, and I've got to be able to coordinate it. We've got to put a team out there that's going to perform and win.
Wow.
So I look at this campaign as a sporting event. And I look at all the not the candidates, but the voters. It's your investment into a ticket to go into that stadium. I'm in charge of your investment, or the Democrats are in charge of your investment. Your vote is an investment. And when you look at a stock, right, or you buy a ticket at a stadium, if your team's in last place, watch the games this Sunday on the teams are in last place. People aren't buying tickets.
Yeah.
So as a Republican here, I'm here to try to come in and take a team that has been losing. I don't know why, but we have been, and say we can apply a new playbook, and we can prioritize, and we can go win. And my mind is on it, and I wouldn't be doing this unless I knew it was possible.
Wow.
It is possible. California is right. Okay,
for change.
But we need a Jimmy Johnson. We need a Bill Walsh. Okay, those are change agent people come in and coaches who the owners decided you're going to get hit by the press. You're going to get hit by the season ticket holders. Why'd you hire him? Why'd they hire him? I wasn't part of this. Both sides of this. It's like I said, I told you my background, so I've been in sports as well.
Wow.
And so I saw the environment of what goes on to even owners to have to be strong in their peer group. So whoever the whales are, like whales are the money donors, the Republican Party, I believe they'll get behind somebody that can win. Okay, money is a problem. Money's a problem for anybody in a campaign. But guess what? Nobody wants to give money to it. Like, who wants to buy the ticket and sit in it? Right? So I think it's so important that whether it's me or any of these other candidates that are here, and they're great. I got to know them over the last hour. Really enjoyed some conversations. Really did. And so this has been really a nice event, and I'm trying to maybe even reinvigorate them to the possibilities, right?
Very cool.
Because you have to They got the energy to go out. They got the energy to try to get donations. They got the energy to pitch. I told them all, I said, I don't know your playbook. If your playbook's the same, I'm not in.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay in my playbook and I'm going to drive it.
Right.
But I'm going to go get the money and the endorsements and everybody else. If the playbook tends to go with the priorities in mind, not completely, but understands, you got to have a wide receiver that can run past the defender.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's me. I'm a fun guy. I actually am very fun.
I really enjoy your approach because a lot of the time we're trying to knock people over the head, and I really like your analytical approach. I like how you're encouraging studies to show people where we went wrong, why we went wrong. Really good, man. Really good. Really good.
Well, I
approach.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm going to start watching your podcast. I really don't. This is all new to me.
Okay.
But you got a good haircut. I'm very familiar with the Armenian community.
Oh, you are.
Yeah, I was in Northern California for quite a while, and my son's best friend, they played tennis.
Oh, God. Oh, very
and
good.
so he ended up playing skiing, whatever. But I got to know his parents for a while, and they're Armenian. They became one of our, I would say, 5 best friends. So I got a zoo about Armenian. He had to come here during the Iranian Revolution.
Yeah. That's a nice
He was
Persian Armenians. Yes.
He was in there. So I know a little bit about the Armenians of a good spirits. And it's great what Trump's done with Azerbaijan and Armenia.
Yeah.
First time maybe peace.
Yeah.
So that's another reason I'm a Trumper. People say, I'm a MAGA for sure. But anybody that doesn't understand that the commander-in-chief should be trying to get peace in the world first, all these other things I'm going to be talking about and everybody here, if we don't have peace, we can't implement anything.
Yeah.
And so we really have to do it on the micro level of California too. I do cross the aisle well. I'm a Maha person.
Maha, yeah.
My campaign is a Maha, mega Maha campaign. I think that's the way you get a lot of the nonpartisan votes, plus Democrats that are tired. And then obviously we have to revigorate the Republicans who feel we can't win. But I believe by March, if Republicans feel there's a candidate that can win, they'll show up.
Yeah.
They'll buy the tickets. All of a sudden, their team got in the playoffs. Those tickets become hot, right?
Yeah.
So it's the 5 million nonpartisan, partisan individuals we gotta work on, and they're open. I've done that. I'm out there. Especially Bay Area. Most people are independent thinkers. Wow. They're really not tied to that leftist.
Yeah.
The leftists are the elites.
Yeah.
And I've actually moved some top tech people. I give Nicole Shanahan a lot of credit. Very brave. First one out. When I wasn't working with Bobby, but I was supporting. Nicole Shanahan took a lot of hits. By people that don't know her, she was the vice presidential candidate of Robert Kennedy.
Yeah.
And she came out of the tech sector, married to the Google big guy, the Sergey, right? And so what happened was, she came out and exposed a lot. And it really, there's a lot of tech people in that circle now that respect her on what she did because they're seeing she was telling the truth.
Wow.
And so we can get a lot of top tech people on our side too. But we got to get Trump, we got to get Bobby, and we got to get election reform. We got to make sure the elections aren't fraudulent.
So Leo is running for California governor. Leo Zaki, entrepreneur. I mean, just let's roll with it. My big question that I'm asking everybody, because we are limited on time here, is what is the most important thing? What is the thing that you think sucks the most about what's happening in California? The one thing you would attack first and foremost.
Oh my God. Look, water is the number one issue, but I'd say that we're not coming together as Team California. More importantly, trust me, water is the number one issue, but the fact that we don't have these leaders that are actually trying to do right by all the people, and they have us divided into partisan politics. That's what's killing the state more than anything, because it's you're a Democrat, you're an idiot, you're a Republican, you're a racist, and that's the end of the discussion. Nobody's actually trying to do and talk about what's actually best for everybody in California. And it's not about the party lines. I mean, think about how bad things are here in California. It's unaffordable. The education's in the toilet. We live in a police state here. It's untenable. You can't keep the money you earn. You can't start a business even if you did have money in the first place. You can't afford the food. The rent's out of control. It's just one thing after the next, and people are fleeing. And so it's about coming together under a leader that wants to do right by everybody and work with the legislature and help cultivate the Team California mentality.
Excellent, excellent. Now, in terms of number 2 and 3, next two things that you think are very important to address.
So, I mean, water is the biggest issue. Like I was saying, we're in a constant state of perpetual man-made drought because we are not utilizing our resources efficiently. We have been approved for desal, but regulatory bodies like the Coastal Commission flock that. We should be building reservoirs and dams, but we're blowing them up because if environmental, feel goods, it's the ecological. Please, what happened to the people? You care about bringing back salmon for 300 indigenous people, but you'll blow up a huge water reserve and hydroelectric generation for what? I mean, what about the rest of us? Don't you care about the people? And our farmers need that water so they can grow the crops at scale because they're not getting the water that they need to survive. And so the small mom and pop farmers that have been operating for 5, 6, 7 generations or 4 like mine, we get crushed under the weight and we have to sell. And then a big conglomerate comes in and buys the land and then rips all the stuff out just to take the water and use it on their crops elsewhere. And then the crops that are still that are able to grow, they have to use glyphosate and all these other herbicides and pesticides. And so you get poison in the food. You can have abundant, cheap water that supplies all our farmers, that's cheap for our utility bills, that we can build out so much that fighting fires becomes a thing of a past. But most importantly, we can export it to create an additional revenue stream to bring money into the state that's not from your tax-paying dollars. I mean, think about it. 50% of your money is taxed in the state. 35% to the federal government, 14.9% to the state. And that's before we get to other taxes, right? Out the gate. You work 40 hours this week, guess what? Government just took 20. That's unacceptable.
Crazy. That's so crazy. I can't believe that's even a reality. Now, tell me, why do we have a lot of governor candidates? What makes you, tell me, what are your qualifications? What makes you most qualified for this position?
Well, my background in agriculture and big business and manufacturing. Zaki Farms, that was my family's business for 90 years. I was the vice president of it. I worked my way up from the bottom to earn that position. I was a board member for the California Poultry Federation for a decade, where I'd go to DC and Sacramento, meet with lobbyists and, with the bureaucrats, FDA, USDA, EPA, the senators, the congressmen, the state reps, the state senators. And I got to meet these people. And I know firsthand that they don't care about you or your business or your family. And they're really stupid. And it was an eye-opener for me. So having those experiences, plus the success I've had in business with the companies I also own, where we do plastic waste conversion, because I care about the environment. Take plastic waste. We have the proprietary means. We build the machine that converts it into graphene and graphene nanotubes and carbon black material, which is awesome for electronics and for, making alloys. And then also with another company that I have where we take the stem cells from plants. We put them into what's called a reactor. We allow them to replicate, and it creates the entire protein spectrum of almonds, agave, sugarcane, and peas. We're working on a whole bunch of other stuff. Only plants, no weird lab-grown meat stuff. It's a whole, protein spectrum plus branched chain amino acids. We can do it with a fraction of the water and a fraction of the time to provide quality ingredients to help provide a more stable and affordable food supply that's less water intensive. So these are some of the things I've been doing. I've had real estate, in a commercial and residential, dealt with the nonsense when it comes to that. Through the restaurant business, dealt with the nonsense with that, had a liquor license, dealt with the nonsense with that. So I have these experiences, but more than anything, I have a plan for all of this to help fix the state for everybody and bringing us together.
I feel like a lot of candidates talk about California this, California that, but you actually experienced like all those businesses that moved out of California. And for people that want more detail on this topic, you really should watch the episode with Leo Zaki. Easy to find on the Blood Money podcast. But a lot of people talk of like, okay, California's all messed up. You've actually experienced it, man. They destroyed your family business by overregulation. Again, I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version, which is that if Tennessee's saying minimum wage is $7.75, but California's $15, and there's all this communist overregulation, you can run a business.
The California Air Resources Board, plus the taxes, the utilities are through the roof. 41 cents a kilowatt hour for power in this state. But in other states, 4, 5, 6 cents. I mean, it's outrageous. You know, what you think a blast freezer runs on, you know, a little bit of power? I don't think so. And then, you know, it's a lot of refrigerator you got to keep cold. So
you can imagine, like, you're running a poultry business, you're selling chickens for $7. Now, if you're paying double, you got to sell chickens for $14.
Well-
But then they're bringing it from Tennessee and selling it. So it's almost like you can't even run a poultry business in California under these regulations.
yeah, so I mean, the prices are already high because of the costs that California puts on us. It's called, so there's, in business you have things called a variable cost, which, you know, you expect, you know, fluctuations. That would be like for us, like feed prices, you know, seasonality, those are, you know, packaging material. Those can have variable costs. Then you have your fixed costs, right? Fixed costs are things like insurance, wages, utilities, taxes, you know, the things that you don't expect to go up by 50% ever. You don't, that's not built in. And labor, for example, is 40% of your fixed overhead costs. So when it goes up by 50%, like it did here in California in 2016, how am I supposed to turn a profit? Well, I have to raise my price of my product, but it gets to the point where it's so much cheaper to truck it in all the way from the other side of the country, or worse yet, bring it in from another country to sell here. And how can I compete on a global market? I can't do it. And so I can't make money, which means I can't employ these people, which means I can't keep them, you know, I can't help put food in their mouth and the lights on in their home or pay their rent, or, you know. I guess
It's almost like your experience. You've seen the problems. You know what in the old adage is like, you know where the bodies are buried. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing, but that's the difference. See, people are in this race for the most part. The big important part, for the most part, are in this because they actually care and are frustrated, and I understand this. The difference is that I actually have a plan forward. I'm living proof of the failed policy here in California, and I know how to get us out of this mess. I need your help. I can't do it alone. Polls mean nothing. We've learned that lesson in 2016. They mean nothing. Okay, don't just get on the wagon because everybody else is. If somebody told you to jump off a bridge, you know, everybody's jumping off a bridge. Did you do it too? I mean, come on, what's the logic in that? Use the time that you have to vet the candidates, and I'm telling you, you will find nobody better than me, more qualified than me, and with a bigger heart than I do.
Yeah.
I'm here for everybody.
I was, you know, just in closing, I was actually blown away because, you know, if you look at it from the outside, people think, oh, Leo Zaki comes from the famous Zaki family. But man, your grandmother put you through the hard knocks.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, you're 15 years old running around with her. People are at the playground or messing around. You're in Sacramento.
Yeah, she's dragging me to D.C. and Sacramento and taking me in front of these, you know, big officials, and I get to experience all that. And I'm going to these different events and conferences in the food industry, and I'm meeting all the people, and I'm, you know, I'm learning to shut up and listen and, you know, meet people and how to be operating those is. And then at 18, the California Poultry Federation invites me to be a board member because I've been hanging around them and all that. And I get to, you know, be a part of that and help protect the industry in California. So I've been doing this. I need to be able to do this in California for everybody and not just one industry now. It's time to take the fight to these corrupt politicians and tell them enough's enough. We need a regular person who cares and who knows. And that's me.
We're here with Daniel Mercury, who's running for California governor. We don't have a lot of time. They told us this got to be quick. So I'm going to ask you one question. Let's roll with it.
Okay.
What sucks most about California that you would want to fix? Like the first most important thing?
For me, one of the most important things is being a father, being a dad, you know, a parent, is child sex trafficking. I'm really exhausted with, you know, the indoctrination with our children, the egregious laws that protect, you know, the predator and not the victim. We're criminalizing the victim and victimizing the criminal. And, you know, everything is backwards in the state of California, and our children are being exploited top notch, bar none in any other state. And it begs the question, why are our legislators and why are executives and chief executives of the counties not enforcing to ensure that we protect, you know, our future posterity? Why are they not engaging to ensure that the innocence, the most of the innocence of us, is highly protected? And yet, for whatever reason, when I do my research, it's because there's profit to be made, right? When it comes to child sex trafficking, it's over $150 billion underground industry when they put it together. So it's something that they want to perpetuate. It's this vicious cycle to keep something going because, well, you know, it tells you that we have a lot of vile, evil people in our hiding behind the walls of our government institutions. And it begs the question is how did we get here? And what are we going to do about it? And really, in part, it's an abrogation to the laws of nature and nature's God, meaning that when a new life is formed under the laws of nature of XXXY chromosomes, right? That life in the womb has rights. It is government's responsibility to ensure that life prevails. And when life is being diminished, life is being exploited, when the education of our youth is being indoctrinated to hate their own country, to hate their own flag, to hate the people who have gone to protect this. We're in a backward government that is utterly trying to destroy this nation through Marxism by way of what's called Fabianism, meaning communism wants to destroy everything. But Fabianism wants to do it in a softer approach by way through your legislation, which is what they did back in the day to ensure that communism was still achieved, but it was achieved through a softer approach through buyouts. And of course, what do we call it today? Well, today it's called lobbying. But that's actually, it goes against the Constitution under the emolument clause. What's emolument? Emolument is when somebody comes in and makes you a nice wealth of money, or makes you a deal, says they're going to contribute to your campaign. All these things are going to make sure you maintain the income, you're going to retain your seat. Well, they changed the language to change perception, and they called it lobbying. And so what they're doing now is they're trying to change the language to change perception by saying, we don't want to call these perverts, we don't want to call them pedophiles.
We don't want to call them perverts.
We want to call them MAPs, minor attractive person. That's changing the language to change your perception.
It's like lobbying is bribery, just a nicer sounding word through words, and a lot of people fall for it, unfortunately.
So it's a disruption to linguistical canons, and this is why I tell people, once you figure this out, at least it's the way I did, then you understand whose purpose is subverting and engaging, really just engaging in the evil. For me, it's sickening that they would even pass a law to permit the pervasiveness between an adult and a minor. They split words here in California, right? California is, if you're a child, it's 11 and under. If you're a minor, it's 12 to 17, and then 18, you're an adult. And then they split this where they say human trafficking up to 16. Wait a second. What about the 17-year-old? What, it's just because they're too close?
And, there's all these stories coming about girls that were trafficked, that got into pornography, that then regretted. Now they're having kids, and they say we're groomed at that age. So it's a grooming age, as long as you're under it.
And not to mention Santa Monica, around Ocean Parkway, is one of the heaviest areas where there are a huge amount of child sex trafficking victims who are actually working the streets. Problem is local law enforcement, LAPD, can't do anything about it because of local ordinances and policies that all they can really do in part, and I don't have all the details on this, but they can hand them the phone and they can say, call who you need to call to come get you. And then from there, they can help. But a lot of times these victims are so frightened that who do they think they call?
Oh, they call Aaron.
They call the trafficker. They call the person who basically, ripped them away from their home and put them in that situation. And our local law enforcement cannot do anything because certain ordinances and certain policies of that county permits it. But you don't hear about this. Candidates hear about this because, we're trying to find the solutions to the corruption and to the problems. And so everything gets confounded. So a lot of people say, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, this is the point where I tell people, I stand on ensuring that prison is the solution to corrupt representative. If you do anything less, then there's a problem, right? And this is what I stand on, because they have a duty to their oath. Right now, they're engaging in criminal misconduct. You don't know about it, right? If you don't know the law, well, there's no law. And if you don't know your rights, you have no rights. And they placate on you.
They placate on you, yeah. Man, I go, just for the viewers, I interviewed you 2-3 months ago. And the thing that I found very impressive about you is that your understanding of the laws and the Constitution, not many, it's almost like you shouldn't run for office unless you had a Daniel Mercury level of understanding of it, because they don't, I'm not going to talk about my story. Everybody knows, but it's like they need to understand the laws. They need to understand the Constitution, and that basic is not done. Why is it? Why is that if you become a sheriff, if you become a politician, why isn't it that the first thing you're handed is a Constitution? I already know the answer, but you're not handed the Constitution and being like, yo, that's your Bible right there.
That is your Bible. The Constitution is the definition to the limitation powers. You can't use the Constitution to grant yourself more charge.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that, right? But yet that's what they do. Or we get a lot of chief executives that engage in selected law enforcement. Well, now you're picking and choosing what you're going to do because it doesn't fit a current narrative, right? Well, then you just violated what you swore to protect. Like, it's the ignorance. But here's the thing. When people don't know this, right, they see what's on the news and they engage in, or they're being forced to listen to propaganda, right? When you look at that, I think it's the Smith Modernization Act, you'll notice that allowed for our own government to engage in propaganda. So now when people see this, they don't really know the differences between up and down. I mean, who has time to sit there and really spend hours reading the laws?
Yeah.
Our current legislative body drafts between 2,000 and 5,000 bills.
Do we even need all that stuff?
No,
That just
no.
feels like it's a waste. It's like you're putting laws on top of the Constitution to really take away from the Constitution.
And they're not even in alignment. That's the thing. So,
Wow.
and they sign into 1,000 of them a year? That's not to your benefit.
It's not. No,
No.
it's to their benefit. They're creating businesses. They're creating
And those are
revenue
people
streams.
we put these people in office.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Right? And this is where it requires us to become educational, to educate ourselves, to educate other people, and to take back what already rightfully belongs to be the people.
Yeah.
That's that. It's
Yeah.
really that simple.
Yeah. Guys, Blood Money episode 302 was, I think, the one that we did. We're going to do more of them, but everybody needs to go watch that because just his understanding of the laws is so essential. And, you're like, I highly respect you. You're the one that's like on the top of my list, and by the way, you guys just got to watch the video. Watch the episode, learn what this man has been through in his life and why he's running. And one of the things I think I came to the conclusion, I got to mention this. I don't know why a guy like you gets one vote as a service member, as somebody that understands the laws, the Constitution, you've served the country. And then the guy that wants free stuff in New York gets the same vote. That to me, I'm all for voting, but something seems off with that, man, because I don't know. I feel like we're voting in people that don't understand the laws, and that is a dangerous place in our country. But Ryan, how you doing, sir?
Doing good, man. Good seeing you.
Great having you here, man. So you announced that you're running for governor recently.
I did.
Okay. I got to ask you, what is your top line issue? What is the most important thing that we need to address with this governor's race coming up, and hopefully having you be the victor of this governor's race?
If it was up to me, if this election was about Ryan Shulman, it would be public safety. I've been a police officer for 13 years. I understand it like the back of my hand, and I recognize that public safety and quality of life are one of the most biggest issues in our states. However, it's not about Ryan Shulman. It's about the people. One of the things I recognize is that the economy drives everything else. As an officer, when I would go on the streets and I would see people that were homeless, see people living out of their cars, see people that were addicted to drugs, I realized a lot of it is an economy issue. People can't afford groceries. People can't live anywhere. So as governor, one of the first things we have to do is we have to be able to stimulate our economy, bring more revenue into the state. If you bring more revenue into the state, it drives the prices down and it makes the quality of life better for everybody else.
Wow. We're talking off camera about the issue with families and the fact that, we're encouraging people to have abortions. We're encouraging people to build families. You made a very insightful statement. Do you mind talking about some of your experiences with the destruction of the American family and what you observe as being an issue?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity of going to San Quentin prison about 6 months ago. And when I was in there, I was talking to a lot of the inmates, and I talked about 4 inmates. And one of the things that kept coming up was that all 4 of these inmates didn't have a father in their life.
Wow.
And when I asked them the follow-up question, I said, do you believe that had your father been in your life, do you believe your circumstances would be different? Every single one of them said yes.
Wow.
So if that's the case, why are we not encouraging families to stay together? So my Family First initiative encourages families and incentivizes families to work on the things of their marriage and their household. I've been married for 13 years and I love my wife, but it hasn't always been an easy road. So if the government can provide certain resources and opportunities to help those families stay together, it's going to increase the likelihood that those kids stay out of trouble. It's going to increase the likelihood that those kids are successful contributing members of society, but also it's going to reduce the quality of life issues that everybody else is having as Californians.
So they obviously discourage us against family. They want us to get abortions. They'd make it sound like, especially on the left side, they make it sound like there's something wrong with the nuclear family. We've been indoctrinated to believe this stuff. Unfortunately, what I realized is, there's a gentleman here named Adam Vina who hasn't seen his kid. I don't know if you met him, but like the kid's being transitioned without his consent to boy to female or whatever they call it. and totally out of his hand. You know, we hear about these like alienation stories because of family law industrial complex. Tell me, like, how do you solve that issue where modern day men, people aren't getting married anymore? They don't want to get married. We've all heard the horror stories. She took all my money. She took my kids. How do you solve that issue?
Number one is we have to stop demonizing men.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love our women. I love my wife, and I think women are a necessity. That's why God created women. But what we've done is we live in a culture now where we demonize men. So we have to encourage men to step up and assume those roles that they take on. So if you're going to be a father, act like a father. Number two is we have to stop incentivizing people to go out there and have abortions. Look, they always bring up the idea, well, what happens if somebody's raped? I understand all that. But what we're not doing is we're not being proactive in teaching people the dangers of having unprotected sex. We're not teaching people the dangers of what happens when you go out there and sleep with multiple people, men and women. So I would like to educate our kids proper sexual education, not indoctrinational education. And I believe by doing that, what's going to happen is you're going to start to see a tide turn where people aren't even going in there to get abortions because they're not pregnant anymore. The other thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that we start getting back to the basics of our state. Let's get back to reading. Let's get back to writing. Let's get back to history, as opposed to pushing a lot of these political and cultural agendas so that way we can indoctrinate our children. I met Adam Vina, and I feel my heart goes out to him. And the system has demonized him as a man, and that's why he's in the situation. I do believe that he has better days ahead, and I believe that he will see his child one day, but it takes a lot of good leaders in order to move that in the right direction.
Wow. What do you do about the judges that are these political activist judges that look at you and rather than saying, okay, law, we're going to decide this based on law, they look at you, they say, oh, that's a man. Man is evil because I went to this liberal arts university and, every man's toxic. What do you do about that entire generation of judges?
It's a great question. You know what's funny? Let's look at how they select juries. You ever been to go on the jury duty and you have to fill out that whole big long form about all these different things. And if you have any level of biases, what happens? You're not selected.
Yeah, exactly.
Why can't we re-evaluate some of our leaders like that? As a leader, we have to do our best job as being unbiased as we can. I built a brand called Breaking Barriers United. It was centered on bridging that gap between law enforcement and the community. The only reason I've been remotely successful in doing so is because I have to call balls and strikes. A lot of our judges are biased. They're very biased, and they don't call balls and strikes. They only call what fits their initiative. So we have to create parameters and methods in place that can look at who is going to be the most unbiased official that we can put in this place that can see both sides of it and call it the way it should be.
Wow, amazing. So you're talking about actually testing them. There's a lot of, because they take these judges, they give them 1 month of, and I don't even know what you learn in 1 month. They give them 1 month of training. It's not like you're going to learn the Constitution. A lot of them don't even know the Constitution, especially in family law. It's like they ignore it completely. Like there's no like liberty, pursuit of happiness in family law, unfortunately.
It's one thing to be able to pass because you know the information, but it's another thing to actually be a good human being. And I think sometimes we miss the latter. There's a lot of good educated people out there, but unfortunately they don't possess common sense, or unfortunately they're not doing what's right for the best, for what's best of that person. So I think that it requires a dual qualification to say, yeah, you qualified on paper, but are you the one that's best fit to serve our community because you're able to see both sides of the equation without forming a bias?
Excellent. Now, got to ask you about your skill sets. You have a very special skill set that when we first met in Sacramento, you were telling me that you do a certain job that you think would be very helpful, a skill set to have as governor. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I believe one of my skill sets is being able to be a leader and identify talent. I think last year when we watched our national presidential election, I think we got it right there. You saw a lot of different candidates pulling together, and eventually they all basically came behind one man. And so it's my job as a leader to find the right people with the talent, put them all in a position to win.
Wow. Awesome. All right, guys, we are here at the California Governor's Debate with Leo Naranjo the fourth.
Yes, sir.
First. The fourth. Wow, the fourth. Awesome. Sir, one question I've been asking, this is kind of like a speed dating thing. They want to move as quick. What is the first thing? What is the thing that you think is most horrible about California that you would want to address first and foremost once you were in the governor's office?
Day 2, we're going to remove sanctuary state status out of the state. First and foremost, out the gate. We're going to roll back Prop 47. We're going to send that right back to the legislature. We're going to make them fix the laws so that crimes don't go all into the miscellaneous column. There's actually penalties for if you do certain crimes. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to forewarn the legislature this.
Right now, you guys have had years of habits of taking 5,000 bills, just to use a number, taking 5,000 bills and dumping them on the governor's desk at the last minute. I'm going to let you know now. You're going to do that to me one time. Because what's going to happen is the day that they're due, 5 minutes before the end of the evening, all 5,000 are going to be vetoed in mass. I don't care if they're good bills, bad bills, indifferent bills. They're going to be vetoed in mass, and they're going to send right back to you. If you want to challenge the veto, knock yourselves out.
Why?
Why?
Why veto them?
Why veto them? Because the legislature has an entire year to pass bills so that people can go through them and make sure they know what they're signing. The days of the rubber stamp, we let the time go by, it automatically becomes law. This is how the doofy bills that are getting passed right now are getting passed. While the governor's pretending to be president, the legislature's going crazy. That's what they're doing en masse. And the other thing I want to get rid of, and thank you for bringing up the topic, gut and amend. So I don't want to see bills come across to the governor's desk that say we're here to save kids, but inside the bill, we've removed those portions of saving the children. And instead we want to grow more marijuana farms. And then we pass it off as a different bill. We need to stop that process of gut and amend. And I'm going to work with the legislature to do it. And I'm also going to work in trying to force it to be done correctly. But if you want to pass the bills and you want them signed correctly, start taking that year that you have to do it adequately and send them over rationally. But you're not going to paper dump 5,000 on my desk, go home to celebrate your vacation, and think I'm just going to let them roll in and hurt the citizen. En masse, vetoed. That'll be a one-time shot they do, and they'll fix it from that point.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your experience, because you have quite a bit of experience. What qualifies you for the governor's position more so than anybody else?
15 years retired service. That was retired out of the Army. Finance was my specialty in there. I became what today's language would be referred to as a GOAT, utilizing the Army payroll system. When it came to finding money, I could take in a room like we have right now, figure like it's a club with the lights, the music, and loud pounding. It only took 3 words for me to pick up on a soldier that was about 40 feet away from me. Fraud, overpaid, or what rank he was. 6 months later, that person ended up owing the government $2,000 because I dug him out of the woodwork.
Wow.
Can I find money? Yes, I can find money. Can I find air? I can do that as well. I've also been in the franchise task board for 4 years. I've been with the County of Sacramento welfare system for 11 years. So if you want to talk SNAP benefits and what they've been doing with that program in California, we can have that discussion. But I can almost assure you there are folks who don't want you to know what I know on how they used to run it. I was also in 6 years with the Bureau of Reclamation. So when we start talking about water issues, we have to bring in the feds, we have to sit down with state, and then we have to find out from the farmers and those impacted, why isn't that water being delivered, get that fixed and resolved, and then we move through.
Wow. What makes you qualified to work with, you're working with a lot of people. You're going to deal with like a lot of Democrats that aren't going to be necessarily into the idea of helping your agenda. What do you do? How do you work with these people?
I've had the ability to work while I was a union rep with hostile management, hostile legislatures, hostile union members, and yes, even some hostile coworkers on trying to put forth something that was beneficial for the workforce and the working environment as a whole. How do I do that? You have to stay steadfast in what you're trying to do. You have to get those folks to understand what it is you're trying to do, and you just keep going at it. You want to have conversations, we'll have the conversation to talk. I can see and understand 2 different viewpoints, but at the end of the day, the governor makes the decision, not the unelected bureaucrats that we're allowing to make decisions for today.
Excellent. Is there anything we didn't talk about that you want to mention before we wrap it up?
Offhand, there's nothing that really comes to mind at the moment. We're getting slammed left and right. I will say this, however, first and foremost, I'm running for the citizens of this state. I want folks to understand and know that's probably the only candidate on the trail right now of any party that's trying to run first and foremost for you, the citizens of this state, not another country's citizens, California citizens, and we're going to start putting them first as opposed to the what they always like to say, stakeholders. Who the hell are they? If it's not the citizen, then that conversation is thrown out.
Wow, excellent. How's your campaign going, by the way?
Campaign is moving forward. I got today, after the first go around on the candidate debate and the interview, there's a lot of people who are now looking at me in a completely different limelight Comcast are being made.
By the way, it's 5 days ago. I got to mention this. 5 days. Was it 5 days ago or a week ago or
About 3 days. About 4 days.
4 days? Very recently, we did an interview, and I got to say, man,
We had, by the way.
I was like really surprised. Well, that's how we roll, you know. But I got to say, I was really surprised, man. The way you were able to answer the questions with such fluidity, without like it felt like a machine gun fire, and that's kind of what I want to hear. I want to hear somebody that's confident, that knows how to do the job. I was very impressed by the work you did with social services. I was really impressed by the work you did with changing people's lives and attitudes from this kind of like, oh, I'm a loser, I'm desperate, whatever. You know, please, everyone out there, you should watch. I believe it was Blood Money episode 308 or 309. You guys got to watch that. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you for running.
Let me leave this with you.
Yeah.
I last night, my wife was getting ready for bed, and I was still outside with my mom. We're enjoying it. Well, she wasn't getting ready for bed, getting ready to go to dinner. And we were getting ready to take off for dinner. There's a young lady sitting out by the fire pit in the pool. We ended up in conversation, and it turns out that I knew her online from contacts with our associated group. And she's here today at this governor debate.
Wow.
And so I asked her, I said, well, what brought you out here? You know, hey, what inspired you to come out here? She said, you did. Just from conversation, from postings, she said, you inspired me to be out here, and I had to learn more. And Mr. Miller, that's what I try to tell people. Here's a good example, his own words. Look at that podcast. I'm not going to speak for him. I'll let him speak for himself, but I want to leave you with this. I just need 15 minutes to tell you where I'm at, what I can do, and that'll change your mind and have you look at me hard so that you know there aren't just two running for governor. There's a person running, and that's me, who's actually trying to win, not pretending to win. That's a big difference.
Yeah. Thank you so much, bro. I really appreciate you.
Appreciate it, bro. I appreciate your listeners watching, giving me the opportunity to speak. Thank you so very much. You guys have a great evening.
Website, quick website.
Quick website, Leo Naranjo, 4governor.com. Look me up, find what you need. That's the plan.
Thank you, guys.
Over the last 30 years, we have seen the value of our work diminish and the price of real assets like land and homes increase to the point that for most people under the age of 40, the hope of owning their own home has been lost. The response of governments around the world to the 2008 global financial crisis and COVID was to defer the cost of these events to the future. They did this by printing money, in effect selling our futures to pay for their bad decisions. This is corporatism, not capitalism. Money printing didn't hurt those in power, nor those who supported them, because they had real assets, property, shares and businesses that rose in price to match the inflation of money supply. But for most of us around the world, it sold our future for a fraction of its value. In response to this, a mysterious figure known as Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin. He wanted to create a currency that could not be printed on command, thereby devaluing our labor. A currency that could be traded electronically between people without intermediation, allowing all of us to participate fairly in the economy. But if you tried to buy your groceries with Bitcoin, you'd stand at the checkout for at least 10 minutes, probably hours, waiting for the transaction to process, and the fee would cost you more than the carton of eggs and bag of apples. Bitcoin's limitations meant that it stopped being considered a currency in 2016 and was instead called a store of value. But it opened the door for someone to create a genuine currency that nobody controlled, but everyone could use. That someone is us. We created the Gajumaru blockchain and the Gaju currency. The Gaju is real money you can use, whether that is to buy a loaf of bread, pay for a haircut, buy a t-shirt, in fact buy or sell anything. It is a currency for everyday use. On Gaju Market, anyone can buy and sell any legal goods or services, just like you would on eBay, but at a fraction of the cost. Like Bitcoin, Gajus are mined on a computer. Unlike Bitcoin, mining Gajus does not require specialized equipment, nor huge power supplies. During our protected rollout, you can mine this on everyday computers, like the ones that sit in your home doing nothing for most of the day. We are working to get millions of people like you to mine the Gajumaru and be rewarded with Gajus that you can then use as real money. At the end of 2026, the Gajumaru will open to public mining. By then, we will have brought together millions of people like you to mine the Gajumaru. This will create such powerful combined computing capacity across so many millions of people that the Gaju Maru can remain highly decentralized, enabling an economy for the people, by the people. To make all of this possible, we offer a variety of mining packages that combine all of the software and services you need on our website, gajumining.com. The software is simple to install, and there is a step-by-step guide that will get you mining and participating quickly and easily. You can buy those packages now. You can start mining the Gaju Maru and being rewarded in Gajus now. Select a suitable mining package from the gajumining.com web store. Install and activate the software on your device and start mining today. This is an opportunity to be part of a movement to restore our humanity, our dignity, our sovereignty, creating a better future for everyone. For the first time in thousands of years, you will directly benefit from your work, your ideas, without being taxed by intermediaries or needing permission to be part of the global economy. We believe that capitalism is I win, you win, we all win, not I win, you lose. That's corporatism. We refuse to pursue venture funding that would demand we play the corporatist game, and chose instead to grow this movement by giving everyone the opportunity to benefit from their contribution to the movement. Just like being able to mine Bitcoin in 2008 or 2009, getting early access to mining the Gaju Maru now allows you to mine the greatest number of Gajus and benefit most from being part of this movement. We want to share that with you. We want the whole world to be part of this. We want everyone who cares about our future to get on board and take this from a movement to a reality. We want to see an economy for the people, by the people, now. Join us. Put your fingerprints on humanity's story, our history. Be a leader in the economic emancipation of humanity. It's simple. Go to gajumining.com, select the mining package that's right for you, and get started today.